but Govardhana is really good at this sort of stuff. So shout out to Govardhana on this. He's the, oh dear. Hello and welcome. My name is Richard Simon. I'm a cloud therapist. We are talking DevOps Modernisation today. We're actually in central London, in the beautiful Covent Garden. Sun is kind of shining. It's a bit windy, as you might tell from the camera shake, but otherwise everything's cool. I'm here with my wonderful friend Sarah Polan. We're just going to kind of talk a little bit about DevOps Modernisation. What's actually been happening in the DevOps space recently? Introduction of things like platform engineering, where does GitOps fit in, and so on. I've given Sarah absolutely no script at all on this one, so we're doing everything on the fly, pretty much everything on the fly. You are going to get the chance to actually see Covent Garden as we're talking. I'll do a quick roundup shot so you guys can actually see what this beautiful area looks like in London. If you are somewhere in London, near London, do check it out, especially in the summer. Really good place. But, Sarah, welcome to the Cloud Therapist channel.
Thanks for having me, Richard.
DevOps itself has kind of had a bit of a bombardment recently. It's kind of experienced a lot of push and pulls, maybe, or from various areas, so, you know, to say the least.
Yeah.
We've had kind of DevSecOps, so that was something that got integrated a while back. We shifted left kind of towards doing DevSecOps in the past, but more recently it's been things like platform engineering, and I think the one that's really breaking it seems to be GitOps. So we'll talk a little bit more about GitOps later. SRE, I don't think that kind of falls in the same category. I think that's kind of more, it's more supportive of DevOps, if anything, and it's a kind of next step of that, right?
Yeah.
It's not really kind of, you know, in the sort of DevOps process, would you say?
I think all of these. So my challenge with running DevOps teams has always been the control aspect.
Yeah.
And I can't always control what's going on. And what my team is doing, if I only have the one team, okay, I know exactly what's going on in there. But as you move up the leadership ladder and looking at multiple teams and running a whole organization and making sure that you're optimizing for speed, but then, you know, there's concerns about risk and what's being introduced into your environments. From a pure DevOps, you build it, you own it, you use whatever you want, open source, enterprise.
Yeah.
You can't scale that. It becomes really difficult to scale. It's really costly and it's just uncontrollable.
Yeah.
So I think what we saw then is organizations realizing that this is impossible. It also takes a lot of unicorns.
Yeah.
Unicorns are expensive, and for team cohesion, not always the best option.
True.
So that's when we started moving more into that platform engineering space, saying, okay, we know this kind of like build and run works on a larger scale because it gives us a more cohesive team that's doing sort of the run and then the dev side of things as well. But then you don't get the agility that you would get with DevOps.
Yes.
So how do you bring that into the middle and say, okay, I want something that's standardizable, and you can do that and run your infrastructure, but then have the flexibility that you need for your go-to-markets and your business teams to be able to move that forward. That's actually a construct that you see in business models, whether it's, you know, on one side you have hierarchical, and then on the other side you'll have that fully matrix kind of side of things. Yeah. And then when you come back in the middle, that sort of hybrid is very much the representation that we see then with platform engineering and the execution of.
Sure. So so talking to platform engineering, that's kind of been really the more recent one that's been brewing, kind of been, you know, exponential sort of growth in that space, and it kind of is now sort of becoming a little bit more official as well. We have platforms and solutions around it. We have lots of things happening, you know, in that space.
Yeah.
So what's kind of your view on where platform engineering has come from and what it's trying to achieve?
Yeah. I mean, scalability for one. So definitely, and also how do you get some of the onus off of the decision making for development teams, because they don't need to know every nitty-gritty detail.
Yeah.
They're there to provide a business value to solve a problem. If they have to solve the underlying problems and spend time on deciding which of the 220 AWS services they're going to use, that takes time away from what they need to accomplish and the goals of the business. So it's really about finding that happy medium that gives developers the infrastructure that they need, the flexibility that they need, but not at the cost of that becoming a focal point of the organization.
Okay, and what's the, because people have been already doing DevOps and not necessarily platform engineering in the sort of official sense. So can those people continue with doing DevOps and not kind of necessarily shift towards doing platform engineering as a thing in their organization?
I think so, but again, it all depends on context. And for a smaller, medium-sized organization, it might be more logical for teams to go full in on DevOps and have their individual teams because they don't need the control and they're not as concerned about the scalability.
And some of them are maybe doing it without even knowing that they're actually doing it.
I would assume
there's
so.
like standardization, which is one of the things that you said about, about PE as well, right? So they're kind of doing it, but they don't actually have it like an official title.
And I think there are ways that you can go about doing that and making sure that teams are using the tooling that you need them to without going full platform engineering either.
Okay, so what's the impact of not doing platform engineering? If you, let's say you're kind of heading towards that and you've committed to that culture change, blah, 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 which we talk about a lot, and so on. It's not the tech, it's the culture kind of approach. So what's the, if that team just kind of sticks to traditional DevOps, what's the impact, you think, of not doing platform engineering?
I think inconsistency is probably your biggest concern there, both in terms of maturity, but also then just in terms of the types of products that you're going to get out. For teams that I've run in the past, that knowledge transfer has been really critical for upskilling some of the younger devs and making sure that they have the skill set in place to carry on, because realistically speaking, your senior devs are going to move on. So how do you create a pathway for them to move up? And that platform engineering, then again, that scalability, that standardization helps them understand what good looks like, but then also make sure that within the business you have continuity should you have some of that attrition of those senior devs.
Okay, so there was an article, I was kind of pivoting a little bit to Gen AI. So I picked up an article in the news stack. I'll drop a link in the description of the video, so do check it out. I was talking about how Agentic AI and how Agentic AI and platform engineering can combine. So that was quite interesting. So it said something about enable asymmetric scaling in the face of Kubernetes complexity. That was one of their quotes. So a bit of a mouthful, but that was kind of what they're trying to do. And then the idea is really kind of to turning it's designed, or the idea with Gen AI and using that platform engineering to turn it into a bit of a complaint about Kubernetes. It seems to be, kind of saying really focusing more on the complexity of Kubernetes, and then we can use Gen AI with platform engineering to make it better. That was the thing. And it said, the challenge is especially, and it's a quote, the challenge is especially in the skill set of people using it. The market makes it difficult to find truly senior people who have a deep understanding of Kubernetes. So that was one. I mean, I think that that's like a general thing. Right? That's a general issue that we have. It's not necessarily the fault of Kubernetes or whatever else. I mean, we could maybe kind of say it should be made easier, but the focus, I think, on that is not necessarily, that Gen AI can actually is there to help with that. But I suppose it can, but the original problem is not looking at what platform engineering is doing and bringing in Gen AI into that. Actually, what Kubernetes is doing, and then trying to help it, to fix it through Gen AI. So there's something called the article also mentions the Kubia Agentic platform, which was quite interesting. So this is a Agentic AI which aids in the asymmetric scaling. Like most companies as of late, this platform, Kubia platform, is for engineering, platform engineering, and operations teams who kind of feel that there's urgent pressure to scale.
Yeah.
So it kind of helps them, I guess with that. I don't know exactly what it does, but maybe that's something we can check out in the future. But the point is kind of leveraging AI, bringing AI agents and Agentic AI into that sort of platform, platform engineering space.
I think there's a lot of sense to that. If you let's be really very realistic here. In underlying infrastructure, you absolutely need it to be able to do what you want to do, but it's always going to be a cost center. So what we're watching across the industry right now is how can we commoditize the underlying infrastructure so that that's as lean as humanly possible, so that we can focus on where the real value is, which is in the logic, it's in the business. So if you can then put that onto Agentic AI, and Agentic AI is capable of dealing with some of these complexities, then why not? But on the flip side, when that Agentic AI breaks, and it will break because it's technology, and technology always breaks, you need to make sure that you have the right people on hand as well to be able to fix that. So yes, it's great that we can add some of this to technology, but the need for skills and skill set and people who really know the ins and the outs and what best practices, that's not going to die, and particularly not anytime soon.
I can appreciate that if you're doing something with Backstage is eventually will have like a Gen AI component.
Of course.
It can generate a lot of the stuff using Gen AI, and it should do. That's like the augmentation phase of Gen AI and how that's used. Now there's another article from the Newstack. So Newstack seems to be putting out a lot on Gen AI and platform engineering, which is a good thing. But we won't go into the details of that, but it's again quite similar. Again, check out the link in the description of the video. So GitOps is kind of, we have our sort of DevOps CI/CD, and we have our sort of usual pipeline. But the complaint seems to be about that is that once you've kind of made the commit, you kind of go all the way into production or all the way out into something, either dev test or production. Whereas GitOps is trying to kind of maybe, I don't know what it's trying to do, it's kind of maybe stopping that along the way, and then it's kind of saying, okay, so now you need to commit the actual code or the build that you want, and then GitOps will kind of pull that in. So it's not a push, which is what normally DevOps does, but actually GitOps is kind of a pull. And Git is your single source of truth, and so on. That's kind of what it's aiming to do, essentially.
Exactly.
So again, Govardhana has put a really good chart out. It's on that link, so do check that out. But what's your view on sort of GitOps and where kind of coming into the whole sort of DevOps thing?
I think anytime you can automate a human process, there's probably a significant amount of value in that. We as humans, we're very flawed. There are things we're going to see, there are things we aren't going to see within that process and within that code, and things that are missing that maybe we don't notice are missing. So anytime you can put in an automated sort of gate like that, to keep it moving, to keep in consistency, resiliency, then you have less need for some of the SRE functions, hopefully, at some point. But I also think that I'm really interested to see this space evolve with GitOps, particularly, again, back to your point about AI and Agentic AI. I think there's a huge play for operational AI when it comes to things like this, because it's going to be able to wrap a lot of different things into one, whether it's code control, gatekeeping, just passing checks. Has it passed enough of the tests? Has it passed the right tests even? Because then you can start also moving into more contextualized scenarios, which GitOps doesn't necessarily allow you to do.
Right, okay. So, but obviously, again, there's people who are already doing DevOps. So what's kind of the view, from enterprises in terms of, looking at GitOps and maybe adopting GitOps? How can they continue what they were doing or use as much of what they were doing with DevOps previously to now doing GitOps, or kind of switching that to GitOps?
I think this move is a lot easier than the one to platform engineering, because the one to platform engineering, you have to bring a lot more people and organization and culture into that, because you're dealing with change management as opposed to just pure technical change. With GitOps, the easiest thing to do is just start automating your mousetraps. What's the first thing? What's the lowest barrier to entry? Let's check it out. Let's see what this is about. And that generally leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next. So you can have, your kind of a low-hanging fruit, and then maybe you have a bottleneck somewhere, and you're reliant on some manual intervention. Well, how could we either break that up and do a series of GitOps there, or it's just about breaking down the chain of flow.
Okay, and it's the sort of the traditional sort of view, on that is that GitOps is trying to, again, as we said, single source of truth with Git, sort of improved automation. It seems to be an area of interest as well. Enhanced security and compliance, I suppose, because you're kind of maybe making those clusters that you've already deployed and already provisioned a lot more sort of secure in that way.
Maybe a little bit more inadvertently you're doing that, also because that you're getting
it's not a direct thing, right?
You're getting more consistency with what you're trying to do, and I think anytime you have more consistency, there's less room for human error.
And you're doing, you have, as you said, consistent reliability, and then faster recovery and rollbacks. That seems to be another feature as well. So,
I would assume part of that is you're getting less through the gates. So if there's a flaw, something's not happening, you're blocked immediately. But then what does get through, the quality is going to be higher. You're probably going to have some smaller commits also, and smaller commits always lead to easier rollback.
Yeah. So I think the chart showed in the post from Govardhana, he showed that the continuous integration part kind of stays the same, but then it's the delivery and deployment, the CD part, really, and most of kind of the deployment kind of that changes with GitOps, right? Because you're, as we said, it's a pull process. You're not having to go through the whole pipeline in one go necessarily, and then you can once you make the change though, then your GitOps platform, Argo CD, Flux, whatever it is, will actually pull that. And then go ahead and deploy that based on what it understands to be the source of truth.
Also from like a security perspective, I do appreciate a pull as opposed to a push, because it's much harder to spoof a pull than it is to spoof a push. Or DDoS or anything like that. So you have a number of attacks that you can, and attack vectors that are reliant on push mechanisms, whereas with the pull, I don't. And if I'm looking at things like source code, I want to be a lot more careful also about what I can get in there and supply chain and things like that. So that pull mechanism means that I know exactly where the golden source of truth is coming from, and it's coming straight from there.
Okay. All right. So what's the kind of to round things off? What's the outlook for sort of DevOps, platform engineering, GitOps, that sort of bizarre love triangle, if you like, of these technologies?
I think we're going to watch all of them converge a little bit. I think AI ops within DevOps and platform engineering is probably going to be our next kind of role when it comes to the infrastructure side of things, and it's going to be something very similar to GitOps and the platform engineering and DevOps. I still believe that platform engineering is just the next iteration of DevOps, so I'm a little hesitant to call those out as two separate things. But no, I think there will be an encouraging blend here pretty soon.
Okay, excellent. Well, Sarah, thank you very much.
Great
to have you back on the channel again.
Love being back.
It's been some time, so we'll probably get you back on again soon.
Love to do it.
Excellent.
Thanks, Richard.
Thanks all for watching. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. If you have any comments, please drop them for us in the description in the video comment section. Check out some of the other videos on the channel. I try to put out as many as I can, only once a week if possible. Thank you guys all for watching, and we will see you later. Bye from Covent Garden.